And so I think that in many ways it is the, really, it's the lack of understanding, not for lack of trying, because I think many people, if not everybody in this room, has tried for a long time to understand what is the pathway that leads to the granting of an economic subsidy, whether it's a direct taxpayer subsidy or otherwise. Who decides that private developments, special projects get these subsidies? And it is this frustration that I believe is leading the council to propose and I hope enact measures that strengthen concepts such as prevailing wage, such as living wage. It is the council's frustration, reflective of the frustration on the part of the public, that is coalescing in this kind of legislation being proposed. The prevailing wages are important in this city. My office has been charged, the Comptroller's office, whether it's me or somebody else, the Comptroller's office has been charged for a long time with enforcing the prevailing wage laws in this city. The City Council legislation, as I understand it, that's about to be announced tomorrow, will also charge the Comptroller's office with enforcing many of the provisions in the living wage law. And while I don't have a vote on that anymore, and I know Councilmember Melissa Mark Viverito, who we'll hear from in a little while, she is an expert in these issues. They will push ahead with the legislation. I don't have a vote anymore, but I do support the concept of living wage. I was a co-sponsor of living wage legislation many years ago in the early days of my city council tenure. It's a proposal that is driven largely in part because it's really hard to understand who is making the decisions at an agency / nonprofit organization like the EDC. The legislation seeks to set some kind of standard for jobs. Again, we want all jobs to be created in New York City. Minimum wage jobs as well as multi-million-dollar-a-year jobs. We want every job to be created here in New York City. But when there is a taxpayer subsidy, a public subsidy on these private developments, it is absolutely logical that the legislative body, the representative body of this city, impose standards that actually create good jobs in this city. It is not enough now to say X number of jobs are created, number one, because there's no guarantee that those jobs will actually materialize. But even if they do materialize, we want to make sure that they are good jobs that allow people to sustain themselves and grow and have a significant multiplier impact for the rest of the city. So we look forward to this legislation that the City Council will see shortly and deliberate over. We also want to, it is my belief that the City Council is the body that is most prepared to identify what kinds of benefits the public should receive back in exchange for these very substantial public subsidies. In some cases, there are development projects that are more specific and tailored to a geographic neighborhood or community. And in those cases, the elected council member working with all the constituencies in that area is best equipped to shape what those public benefits should be. In other cases, with larger developments that have more of a citywide impact, it is absolutely reasonable and expected that the City Council, as a representative body, collectively decide what those public benefits should be in exchange for the substantial public subsidies, taxpayer subsidies. In fact, the City Council should also decide when, in which cases, the City Council should also decide in which cases there should be local versus citywide decision-making on those public benefits. And I have every expectation that Councilmember Mark Viverito and her colleagues in the City Council will be able to make those decisions wisely. As Comptroller of the City of New York, and over these last few months, I've gained a very deep understanding of where my office adds value to city government. We're not in, it is not the most amount of value we can add in talking about what those benefits should be in exchange for taxpayer subsidies, but the place where the Comptroller's office adds the greatest amount of value is after those benefits have been promised, ensuring that there is a mechanism, setting up a framework and a timetable for these kinds of deliveries of the deliveries of these kinds of benefits. Again, the number of jobs created, good paying jobs created, the number of housing units developed, affordable housing units built, and other public amenities. Those promises, once announced, become a part of the contract with the public. And it is the thank you very much. It is the Comptroller's office that is in the best position to independently ensure that, in fact, those multitudes of benefits promised don't just become empty promises, but become a reality. Because that is the compact that has been struck with the public. So I think I've exceeded my time frame, but you know, it's a very compelling topic, and I'm really happy to see that this leading organization, DMI, has taken this issue up. I hope there will be follow-up forums and discussions on this. There are a number of people here. I think we see a number of people who are part of the task force that I've set up on these public benefit agreements that will not necessarily focus on the types of benefits that should be delivered in exchange for the public subsidies, but the actual delivery and how we ensure that all the promises are kept. So I look forward to continuing this discussion. It is one that is of great import to the present and also the future of New York City.